Hello and welcome to another episode of Upward Trajectory. Today I'm so excited to have Kim Kesterkey with us. She is the founder of the W2 Landlord, and she has quite an inspirational and amazing story to share with everyone. She, in her own words, became an accidental landlord, and it kind of snowballed and led into this amazing scenario that she now has a portfolio of properties that she manages. And I just wanted to welcome Kim to the program. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So when we talked a few weeks ago, you had, told me your story, and I was just so impressed and amazed. I wanted you to kind of take us back and share it again if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2006, I had gone in and bought my first home. I was 26 years old at the time. If you guys remember back then, the real estate market was really hot. Everybody was saying, oh, prices are going to appreciate. Everything is going to sell at a higher price. And so I thought, well, this will be a really good opportunity for me to get into the real estate market. Well, as we all know, in 2008, what happened is the economy crashed. And so I found myself with a new job opportunity in another city, about 2 hours away from where I was currently living, but I was also $30,000 underwater. And so I personally did not have $30,000 to bring to a closing table. So I really had to take the opportunity at that point to pivot and to figure out what I was going to do. I wanted to take advantage of the job opportunity, but I also didn't want to put myself in a financial situation that would put me at risk. So what I ended up doing is I ended up going in and finding a renter. I thought, well, I may as well rent the property. I can cover my expenses, move to Atlanta. That was where I was going to be moving, and just manage the property. And at 26 years old, you think everything's easy. Sure, I can go find a renter. I can manage it. Why not? And that's really what started my journey. Over the last couple of years, I have grown my portfolio from one property to now 17 units, and just have really been able to manage them from a distance and find financial independence through real estate investing.
Wow, what an amazing story. So you went from 1 to 17. Is that, did you leverage each one by doing that, or did you find money elsewhere to do that?
So I have a W-2 job, a full-time job. And so what I did is I went the conventional route for a lot of the loans. And so I would get a typical conventional loan, 30-year amortization. And then just recently, just through taking more real estate investing classes and becoming a lot more experienced, I started more leveraging hard money, doing more fix and flips, and working with private lenders as well.
All while holding down a full-time job.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking there's something to this W2 landlord name. So do you want to kind of go into why did you decide to keep your full-time job and do this? And how much free time do you actually have?
Well, thank you for asking. And that's a really good question. So I've decided to keep my full-time job for a wide variety of different reasons. And the first and foremost, and I think a lot of people can relate, is believe it or not, I am risk averse, taking on conventional loans instead of starting in hard money initially. And I feel that there's a lot of stability having a W-2 job and doing real estate at the same time. It's easier to get loans when you have a W-2 job, and it's not impossible to get funding if, for entrepreneurs and people that don't have a W-2, but if people are just wanting to get started and create more financial abundance in their life, real estate is a really good way, especially if they have a W-2 job, to be able to back up their financial statements when they're going for the loans. So, on top of that, we've got insurance that is, this day and age is pretty tricky. And there's definitely ways to do it for entrepreneurs, but just where I'm at in my life, I'm having a lot of fun with my W-2 and just having a lot of fun with the real estate.
Wow, that's great. So, is this kind of, so you have a full-time job and you also have the real estate. Is it like one of those things you're getting called all hours of the night and having to go, 2 hours away all the time to fix things and handle crises and that kind of thing with the renters?
No, I've built a system and put a system in place to help manage all of that. So, part of my lease structure, it gives instructions on maintenance requests. And I operate just like any property management company would. Tenants have to place their maintenance requests in writing, usually in the form of an email or a text message. And if it's an emergency, obviously I give them phone numbers to call with contractors that I have really good relationships with. If, say, a pipe burst, or God forbid there's a fire, they would have the resources and tools to be able to call somebody right away. But if it's just a standard, light bulb, or they say tenants and toilets, anything standard of that nature, then I have a 24-hour response time built in. And that gives me time to be able to give my handyman a call, or my electrician a call, or my plumber a call to get it set up. And then I usually set it up where those contractors will contact the tenant directly, so that I'm not necessarily as involved as I would need to be.
Wow. So you've kind of got a system down in place where you're really not bothered that much by it, but you've got all this residual income coming in. And I'm assuming, are you cash flow positive at this point?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's great. So what does the future hold? I mean, are you going to keep adding the properties? Where do you see this going?
Yeah, so I have 17 units currently, and my goal is to grow my portfolio to 30 units. And then at that point, I've decided a few different things. I might take on more fix and flips, but I'm also starting to explore a different strategy where I'm finding very low cost properties, acquiring them cash, renovating them, getting them up to market level, and then owner financing them. So basically, I would serve as the bank and be able to sell these properties on a 30-year amortized loan. And so that's something that I'm exploring a little bit more, which has been pretty exciting. Something completely different, but just a way to be cash flow positive without necessarily having to manage the properties myself.
Wow, that's great. So I guess my next question is, what if somebody saying, I have a W-2 job, I'm happy in my job, but I want to add something else, and I'm interested in getting started in this. What would you suggest in terms of first steps?
Absolutely. So research is definitely key. I would definitely recommend that they find an investor-friendly real estate agent, because a lot of these agents, they understand where the different deals are located. They understand how to find them. They most likely have connections with local real estate investment groups and different real estate investors who maybe want to offload a couple properties here and there. And so they can really start networking that way. The second thing, I would highly encourage them to look into the local real estate investment groups as well. There are some really great online resources. Bigger Pockets is a very wide-known, well-known platform, but also too, just look up local REIA, R-E-I-A, and they'll be able to find their real estate investment groups locally as well.
Oh, wow. So you have kind of a community of people that do this together, and you can kind of bounce ideas off of each other. And I'm guessing it's a network of, finding sources, finding places, like you mentioned, the plumber and different people that you have that are lined up. Is this how you found those people, is, through these connections that you made?
So on the contractor side, I had found a lot of the contractors through different websites, one of them being thumbtack.com. It's an app where all you have to do is go in, put your zip code, and define the project that you're looking for. And then you get different contractors bidding for that project. So I was able to find my HVAC guy there, my electrician that I now use, pretty much a wide variety of different contractors that way. And then I highly recommend that real estate investors, if you are managing from a distance, have a bench of about 3 people for each trade. You want to have 3 HVAC people, 3 electricians, 3 handymen, because if they're any good, they're not always going to be available when you need them. So you have to be able to call down the list to be able to find somebody right away.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially in the middle of the night if a pipe bursts or something like the scenario you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Right,
Yeah.
right. Which luckily, knock on wood, that hasn't happened in the middle of the night. It has happened during the day. But the good news is, the tenants, they have the list, they have the people they need to call. And then also too, just as a side note, during the move-in inspection, the tenants are trained on where to change their HVAC filters, where to shut off water if they need to, and some of those things that, you know, can take a drastic emergency down to just a minor occurrence.
So my next question is, and I'm sure there's a lot of people thinking this, is like, oh, you must have had a lot of money saved up to initially do this. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, especially in these times, that don't have a lot of discretionary income to put towards something. Do you have any suggestions or ideas in those terms?
Yeah, absolutely. So just remember, I was 26 years old when I first started and didn't have a lot of money myself. So I was able to take advantage of the FHA loan where you put about 3% down. And then also too, what a lot of people can do in those scenarios is what they call house hacking. And what house hacking is you buy your first place and you rent out some of the rooms so that the income coming in covers your mortgage, but then also allows the person that's house hacking to save up to then buy the next one. And with FHA loans, you only have to live in the property for 2 years. So what you see is a lot of these people will then move to the next home and put 3% down, but they still have the other house available. So that's one way. And then another way, if people don't have a lot of money, but they're really interested in getting into real estate, they don't necessarily have to go buy a property. There is a strategy called wholesaling. A lot of these people can research how to find really good off-market deals through letters, driving for dollars, you know, looking for rundown homes, writing down addresses, and then, you know, calling those particular sellers or owners and seeing if they do want to sell. And then with wholesaling, they're just basically able to find a real estate investor that wants to take on that particular property, and then they make a couple $1,000s for their time. And so that's another way to get into real estate investing without necessarily having to have a lot of money.
Yeah, and you're also diversifying the risk too, but that way, where you're
Exactly.
sharing it.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, those are some great suggestions. I guess I'm kind of all out of questions, but I didn't know if there's anything else that you'd like to add.
Just wanting to let your audience know that real estate investing, it doesn't have to be intimidating. There's a lot of amazing strategies, anywhere from renting out your own room in a house that you own, all the way to finding deals that you can pass on to other investors. There's just a lot of ways to make extra cash flow without necessarily having to put a lot of money in. And then also too, don't get intimidated about managing properties yourself. I think a lot of people have resistance against getting into real estate because they think it's going to be too hard or too risky. Or again, a lot of people think, well, I have a W-2 job. I don't want to get all of these calls from these tenants. And when you get the right processes in place, it can really run smoothly and be a lot easier than you think.
Yeah, and my first thought when, talking to you too, is just what a great route to, retirement income. That, you do this building up now and you build this portfolio slowly and, across time. But then as you get towards retirement, you have this wonderful income that can come in and supplement whatever you may be getting in retirement, which we all know is usually not enough. So you kind of have to have an additional plan moving forward. So I love that. And I love that, you can build it slowly. You can find different ways to diversify the risk, et cetera. So this has just been fantastic. And I love the enthusiasm that's coming through from you. I can see that, I can feel the energy and feel how much you love it and how excited you are by it. And I'm sure other people can as well. So I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. And if anyone is interested in reaching out to you and learning more, what would be the best way for them to do so?
Sure. They can email me at kim@thew2landlord.com. Or if they want to just do some research, they can go to my website, www.thew2landlord.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for being on. And this was just a great episode. And I'm so glad that you were here for us today.
Thank you very much, Jennifer.
Thank you. And please join us again for another episode of Upward Trajectory soon. Take care.